If I'm squinting, I'm sorry. It's like overcast but still bright at the same time. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Happy Princess Half Marathon weekend, and Lent started this week, so let's get caught up a little bit.
We're going in! 3, 2, 1, go!
If there's any weird movements or weird jerky things, I'm sorry. I'm walking Sadie. It's Sunday, so yes, I'm waiting till the very last day of the week once again to be filming any sort of update. But it is a little after 1 o'clock. I believe most everyone should be done with the Princess Half Marathon by now. So if you are one of those, I hope you had a fantastic weekend and that your races, or just your one race, whatever you ran, hope it went well. I always love looking at all the posts and how creative some people get with their costumes, and I don't know how people think of just taking a simple character like Belle or Cinderella or anything like that, and they just come up with some crazy, not crazy bad, but like crazy good, and it's such a unique way of representing it. It's just so cool. So for me this week, for majority of my training runs that I did for my 5K training, I tried to wear something princess related. If I have any pictures, I'll slide them in here. But training this week went good. I'm almost wondering, because my legs just felt very tired all week, if maybe I need to step back the strength training just a tad, since I'm actually trying for a time goal. I don't know, we'll see how next week goes. Weather is just very, very weird for this, but I'm now in my backyard, and because I can't wait for anything, I wanted to share my custom raw threads top that I got for Disneyland for the half marathon, because I'm super excited about it. It's my first custom. Actually, I think it's my first raw threads like core racer. It's my long sleeve my sister got me, but I got it with 100 Years of Wonder on the front, and let's get it to show properly. Established 1923 on the back. So I know it's like still feels like a year away, but I'm just super excited about this race, and to be there during a celebration will be really, really fun. Okay, so now let's get to our run with Nicky.
You ready? You ready for run with Nicky? You ready for some run with Nicky? Run with Nicky!
Hi, welcome to Monday. As you saw, my husband decided to do yard work outside, so it was loud and I was not able to do this outside. So now it is Monday, we are inside because I was gonna do it outside again, but it's windy and about to rain. So I'm in my Disney corner. So run with Nicky, we've done the first 4 days. So I'm gonna try to make this kind of quick, so I'm not talking a whole lot, but it had a lot to do with pain, what to do with it, and choices. So I'll read through things that stuck out and my thoughts. Day 1, the verse she puts at the top, Hebrews chapter 10, verse 36, "For you have need of endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised." All right, so thoughts that stuck out. Faith in God doesn't negate suffering. The question is how we'll respond when suffering comes. As a runner, I have learned there is a prerequisite to participating in endurance events: pain. Can all the marathoners say amen to that? Pain will be present throughout the process of training and in the participation of the race. If I want to reach the finish line, I need to have endured previously, expanding my ability to keep running longer and harder. This is a process. There are no shortcuts to endurance. No one enjoys the pain of disciplined diet and hours of pushing your body to its limit. However, I have never met someone who carried regret from the results that came afterwards. One of my favorite quotes is, "That which is bitter to endure may be sweet to remember." And it reminded me of a verse, John 16:33, and I wrote that in here, is the verse where Jesus is talking and he says, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." He told us very plainly that even as believers, we're still going to go through those hard times, but that he overcame and we can put our hope in him. And the other note that I wrote at the bottom for day one was no growth without pain, stress, or trials. And I remember going through marathon training and watching other people's YouTube videos, and we all kind of come to the same conclusion that it's going to hurt during training. If you're giving it your best, you're going to experience that pain. But because I had those really long runs that hurt, I knew that when I got to marathon day, when I hit those moments where things started to hurt, I knew I could keep going because I had done it before. And we applied that same lesson to life. We remember how God has been there for us in the past, or even from stories from other people, which we'll talk about in later days, where people have gone through those hard times and God was there for them. He's going to be there for us too. We can put our hope in him. There's a quote by George Mueller: "To learn strong faith is to endure great trials. I have learned my faith by standing firm amid severe testings." All right, day 2, 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 8 through 9. "We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death. So this happened that we may not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead." So before I read what the different things that she said, that verse always reminds me of the popular saying that I don't really believe is accurate, where people will say God will never give us more than we can handle. And God never gives us hard times, I believe. I don't think he would ever cause his children pain. It's like, as a parent, I'm not going to purposely hurt my kid, and how much better of a parent is God. But God will allow us to go through those hard times so that we'll rely on him. It may feel so overwhelming to us, but we need to put our hope in him. That's what he wants. He wants to carry us through those times, if that makes sense. All right, so statements from Nicky. "Do we dig deep and uncover buried treasure that can only be found during times of great pressure?" 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 9. "I may be hard pressed on every side, but I am not crushed. I may be perplexed, but I'm not in despair. I may be persecuted, but I am not abandoned. I may be struck down, but I'm not destroyed." In Romans 8:37, "In all these things I am more than a conqueror through him who loves me." No matter the pain, hardship, and heartache, we can learn, grow, and find revelation of the power, love, comfort, and character of God in a whole new way. That statement, going back to marathon training, was, reaching the end of that training plan and looking back at all of that I had accomplished, knowing that I was capable of so much more than I thought I was. And to parallel that to this, when we have those trials and we put our hope where it's supposed to be, we realize how great God is, and how much he really does care for us and wants to carry us through. And he teaches us all kinds of things when we go through hard times. You can hear the stories. I hear stories from my parents, stories from my friends when they, were in a very deep valley, and what God revealed to them through those times. And the other note I wrote, this is where choice starts to come in. We can choose to learn and be used. And she says that in here. Do we let pain ravage us? Do we just let it happen, or do we choose to have a different point of view? And trust me, I am not speaking because I do this perfectly. I am the worst worrywart. I'm the worst with anxiety. Sometimes it takes me several steps to make that turn and be like, am I looking at this the right way? Am I just letting my anxiety take over, or do I need to look at it through God's lens and what he's wanting me to learn from this? Okay, day 3, Psalms 118, verse 15. Shouts of joy and victory resound in the tents of righteous. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. The definition of resound means to echo, to boom, to thunder, to rumble, to reverberate. The definition of victory, a success or triumph over an enemy in battle or war, an engagement ending in such triumph. The ultimate and decisive superiority in any battle or contest, a success or superior position achieved against any opponent, opposition, or difficulty. And she's looking at that last definition of victory. We see from the definition, that fourth one has to do with your position over an opponent. Jesus defeated an enemy and gave us a seat alongside himself in heavenly places. He has put us in a position of victory. And she continues with, that is why we shout. That is why we have that resound that we should be giving, that praise. The same mighty strength and power that raised Jesus from the grave is at work in us. We are the display of God's splendor and reveal the uncomparable riches of his grace expressed in his kindness to us in Jesus Christ. I like that one just because it reminded me of my favorite verse, that we are God's masterpiece. So along with day 2 with the choice, we choose to praise through those difficult times. And I wrote so hard, and it is so hard. I know I have several friends right now dealing with illness, dealing with cancer. I have family dealing with illness, dealing with cancer. I mean, it's everywhere. And how do you choose? And as I'm watching, people I love go through these things, I mean, so I get very frustrated. I'm like, why is God allowing this to happen? Because like I said, I don't ever believe God causes us pain. That doesn't sound like a loving father to cause pain, because I know I would never do anything to my kids to cause them pain purposely. But he's allowing it to happen. But why? And I struggle with this all the time. And I wrote here at the end, story of Melissa. I actually didn't know this till a few years ago, but the artist Jeremy Camp, his first wife, Melissa, there's a whole story, and they made a book and a movie. It's called I Still Believe, but she struggled with cancer, and she went into remission for, I think it was maybe almost a year, maybe 6 months to a year, and they got married during that time, and on their honeymoon, she started to have the pain again, and that was just the downward hill. But through both those times, the first time and the relapse, the amazing thing about her was that she praised through it all. She believed in the healing the first time, and she continued to praise him even during that second relapse when she was in the hospital, and she never left. And it's not to say, and you can read the book and see it in the movie, that she didn't feel upset about it at times, but in the end of all of those being upset about at times, she came back around to God is still good. There's a reason this is happening, and the line that she said that is carried through the years since her passing is, if one person can be affected by my story, then it was worth it. And I aspire to have faith like that. Philip Yancey has a quote, "Endurance is not just the ability to endure a hard thing, but to turn it into glory." That's what Melissa did, I think. All right, day 4, last day for this first week. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Isaiah 53, verse 4. Honest expression to God makes way for God to come and work his real healing. We are robbing ourselves of a divine mystery and a divine intimacy when we pretend to have it all together. God understands that life is full of pressures, hurts, and stings. He took on flesh so he could relate to us in both our joy and pain. He wants us to feel and express every emotion before him and not minimize a thing. That's one of the things I appreciate about shows like The Chosen, is it's just a visual representation of how Jesus was fully God, fully man, and he experienced pain, he experienced joy, he experienced sadness, you read it in scripture, he experienced temptation, and he sets the example for how we can be Christ-like. But I wrote, here, be real, and that, God can take our sadness, anger, and frustration. And I always feel like he would rather us come to him screaming and yelling and how we're frustrated than just to not talk to him at all. Because I feel like as parents, that's what we would want from our kids. We wouldn't want them just to not talk to us about things that are bothering them. We want to know. And, like I said, God is even more of a loving father than we are as parents, There's a quote, Elizabeth Elliot, love her. We want to avoid suffering, death, sin, ashes, but we live in a world crushed and broken and torn, a world God himself visited to redeem. We receive his poured out life and being allowed the high privilege of suffering with him. May then pour out ourselves out for others. And it just so happens that this is, these first few days were occurring this weekend. It's Princess Weekend. But I read that quote, just read it again yesterday, and I thought about Kristen with Running in Makeup. So if you don't follow her, stop watching my video and go watch hers, because they're way better. But, she had a bit of a rough half marathon. She fell. In her stories after, she, was clearly, hurting and upset, but she says, this was supposed to happen. And that attitude of, there's a reason why this happened. We're gonna overcome this, and we're gonna keep going. And she says in one of her stories that she wanted to set an example for others. And there's a quote that she said, and I've heard other people say it, is that sometimes you are given a mountain to show others it can be moved. We're created to be these relational beings. And that's why I don't have a whole lot that I go through, or my life is not super exciting, but the things that I do on a daily basis and things that I experience on a daily basis, maybe somebody will find some sort of encouragement from it. I want to be that encouragement for others, just like Kristen has encouraged me. Gerald Frez Runs has encouraged me. My running buddy Emily encourages me. My dad encourages me. My sister encourages me. My brother-in-law. I mean, we're created this way for a reason. So it's been a fun first 4 days. I hope you have enjoyed those. And like I said, there's many YouTube people that I love, and I've talked about them on various videos. But Kristen is definitely a very good one to follow. She keeps it real, and she's encouraging at the same time. So I hope everyone is good. If you ran a Princess, I hope it went well. Let me know in the comments who you dressed up as. I love costumes. And if you didn't go to Princess, when's your next race? And be sure to subscribe. Give this video a like if I didn't already say that. I can't remember now. I'm really hungry. It's about lunchtime, so I need to go get something to eat. Always remember that you are God's masterpiece, and I will see you next week for our next installment of training and Run with Nicky.